everyone. Welcome to the She's a 10 times 5 show. I'm Lori, and my friends Michelle, Randy, Marcia, and special guest hosts are mixing it up and joining me to do what girlfriends do best, chat from the heart. Whether it's celebrity stories or serious topics, we're talking about it and coming in hot. Join us as we bring you the aha moments of learning, reflection, inspiration, and of course, a whole heck of a lot of fun. Let's go. This episode is brought to you by...
Are you looking for a story that will motivate and inspire you to be the best version of yourself or have a positive impact on those around you? Hi, I'm Vince Schiano, author of the Amazon best-selling memoir, Always Forward, a story of perseverance and determination in the face of life's challenges. Also, something very near to my heart, my story through organ donation. From the streets of Pamplona running with the bulls to the Pittsburgh Transplant Care Unit, I think that you'll enjoy a powerful book that will also hopefully motivate you to register and become an organ donor. Get your copy today at Amazon or listen to it on Audible or iTunes. Please enjoy the podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to She's a 10 times 5, the quad. Welcome, ladies.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Here's what's so great. So we got our usual. We got Michelle from Tampa. We've got Randy Crawdaddy Crawford. Sorry, that moniker is now sticking.
It's not going away ever.
It's crazy glued to my brain. We got me. We got low jabs. And here's what's great. So we're going to start bringing in our 4th-seat previous guests and people that have a really strong voice. And today we have one of those, Diane Chandler, the beautiful brunette.
Hi,
Diane.
Hi, guys.
And
Hi.
Diane was one of our early adopter guests. She bared with us, and she was season 2, episode 25. If you want to check out her episode, it was fabulous and very thought-provoking. And we really appreciate you joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm excited to be here and nice to meet you ladies.
Yeah. Okay, let's start from the top. So last week we released an episode and we kind of dipped our toes into the deep waters, and we knew we were only dipping. And I think it's very interesting. We were talking about the woke movement, or at least part of the woke movement, but most importantly, we were talking about how we clamp up, how we're afraid of the cancel culture, how hard it is to speak. And if you listened to the episode or watched it, you could tell that was very evident because we were watching our P's and Q's the whole way along. Right, ladies? Yeah. And what I thought was interesting, and Randy, I want you to cue a little bit of the discussion on this, and we'll keep it short, is while we got a lot of feedback, we didn't get anyone that openly gave us feedback. And I think that is part of the problem. What I would like to see when we take the risk and we jump into the deep end, we're doing so at the risk of also being ostracized, canceled, etc. I would like to see more people that have an opinion come on our Instagram or come public with their thoughts, because I think that is part of the problem.
Yeah, I'll jump in here.
Yep.
First of all, whenever we do an episode, I love it. I get a lot of different people DMing, texting, and calling me. And people, if we're playing pickleball, they just love talking about it. So I think that we are hitting topics that people want to talk about. I will be honest, last week I got several DMs, texts, and phone conversations of women that were a little bit annoyed with me, and they gave me pushback and said, I don't think you went hard enough on the Nike sports bra section. And to which I said, listen, let me be very clear. I made my stance, which is I believe that Nike screwed up and should have included a lot more people in that. Now, obviously, we're going to be judicious with our words. But as I said to each woman, I love our conversations, but why didn't you put that on my Instagram post? Why are you DMing me behind the scenes and calling me? And then I was quick to point out that, listen, Anheuser-Busch is getting destroyed daily. They are down billions because their customer base is pissed off and they're talking up about it. And therefore, Anheuser-Busch is losing millions and billions of dollars. So the women behind the Nike sports bra, a lot of them are waiting for an influencer like a Megan Rapinoe or somebody to come out and say, listen, what about us? And that's not happening, other than this poor one gal, Riley Gaines, who's on her own. So there's strength in numbers. And if women want to see change, women have to not be afraid to speak.
Yeah. And I just want to preface this with, in case you didn't see last week's episode, this is basically, we had a dialogue about transgender athletes being brand ambassadors for really women's products. Bud Light excluded, but on the Nike bra side, it's a running sports bra. Okay. Anyone have anything they want to say before we move to today's topics?
No, yeah. I mean, on this subject, I would chime in. I think that transgender and women's sports, the men's competing in the women's sports, the men representing women, I'm all for do you. I mean, I am completely a free thinker and I'm all about it. But I do think there was something about, we've worked so hard as women to really have the rights to compete. I'm an athlete myself. And to be able to shine in that and to be able to come to the marketplace and get endorsements as women equal to men. And so this just felt like a little bit like, I think it's a lot. And I think that there could be a place for that. But I don't think that everybody, like what you were saying, Randy, I don't think everybody was showcased in this. And it felt like it's just a lot fast. Like it is slammed in everyone's face right now. And so for me, it was like, wait a minute, like, let's have the conversation about what this looks like and what this means, because I think a lot of people's heads are spinning. It's fast. Yep. And so I'm a big advocate of women's sports. So I'm always going to fight for the women. And I think there's a big conversation to be had here for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to start with Michelle. What we just heard is that we really, really hope that more women, everyone from all sides of the parties, whatever, personal interest you have, we want to hear about it. And I think that's the part that we're trying to articulate here, is that let's all speak our minds and have a voice, because we can all learn and be better for it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this week, I'm super hyped about this, ladies. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because, look, I mean, I do my Yahoo scroll with my coffee and whatnot. And yes, I get that Kendall Jenner showing up at Coachella to see her supposed romantic partner, Bad Bunny, is news to a lot of people. That being said, I want to do a round robin around the quad of why aren't we talking about X? Okay, Michelle, I'm going to lob you. I'm throwing you a cookie. I'm going to start with you. What do you think we should be talking about?
Okay, so I know that you said this was our topic, and we don't know what each other is going to say. But I wanted to bring up personal space because I had recently saw Heather McDonald, the comedian, did a little bit on Instagram about Drew Barrymore, and it was hysterical. And how Drew Barrymore like gets up close and personal with some of her guests on the show. Like, I mean, like right up in their space. Yeah, and it just made me laugh because I was like, yeah, I'm not about that. Like, I really feel like personal boundaries, personal space. If I can feel your breath on me, you are too close. Like, back up, Jack. I don't want you near me. And I just thought it was funny because not a lot of people are talking about it. And I love that Heather McDonald went in, because there's kind of this code of celebrity. Like, you don't want to make fun of each other, but that's what's great about her. Like, she's like, I don't care. Cause I was thinking the same exact thing when I was watching. I was like, wow, she is really like going in. And if I was the guest,
Indian style, by the way,
like, I would be like, what are you doing? Like, and so, but nobody says anything because they're afraid to, because they don't want to, God forbid, ruffle any feathers, especially of big names and, celebrities. But it just got me thinking about personal space. I remember years ago when I used to work with a lot of doctors and coach them, I had to tell one of the doctors, I was like, Doc, you're like the creepy doc. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, all the women are uncomfortable around you because you're up close and personal. Like you got to back up. And he had no idea that he was, I kind of drew a little box. Like I was like, okay, see this space? Like, and I know there's probably specifics around it, but yeah, it's that personal space. And we've all had those people that come up and start talking to you and you're like, you do the 2 steps back and then they move forward. You're like, whoa, they're not getting it. So that was one of the things that I was like, why isn't anybody else talking about that?
Do you know what I call that? We have an acronym in our home. It's called BITFO. Back it the fuck off.
It reminds me of a Seinfeld episode. The close talker.
Right?
Yes.
And I was
It
like,
is.
yeah. No one else seeing this? Like when she sits down and she gets Indian style and she's on the couch and she's like, tell me.
I saw it last night. I was watching something with her and she got on in her Indian style. And I love Drew Barrymore, but she was definitely up in her space for sure.
Yeah, it just made me laugh because I was like, kudos to Heather McDonald for going there. Like, because it made me laugh. And I was like, I'm surprised not more people are like calling her out on that.
You know what's interesting here is there's a bigger issue here that's going on. And I think a lot of people and young adults aren't learning the right social cues. And so I think that some people kind of grow up with not understanding courtesy and social space and keeping your proper distance from one another. I mean, wouldn't you think, right? Because there's a lot of people out there that they get up in your grill and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. BITFO. What is it?
BITFO.
BITFO.
Okay. That's was a good
one.
But
I will just say, I'll call myself out. Like, I don't mind it so much because I'm a toucher and so that doesn't like trigger me as much, to be very honest, but I do see it. And when I watch it, like I saw last night, I'm like, I didn't know you were going to talk about this. I'm like, wow, she's really close up in her face. I go, they must be great friends. That's kind of what went through. But then I guess she's doing that quite often. So
yeah.
Okay. In case
a lot.
In case they're listening, Brad Pitt and George Clooney, you don't have to BITFO.
You don't have to BITFO. No.
Let's make BITFO for you. No.
Let's make a list of who can BITFO us.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, Randy, we're gonna slide over to your square.
Well, God, I don't mean to get all dramatic now, but mine is much more intense.
Good.
Let's just go there.
Michelle was the warm up.
I'm a life coach and my lane is generally parenting, but today I couldn't talk about that because this one has me my heart is pounding 24/7 with this. I wake up Monday morning, I'm in a great mood. I take a jog. I scroll my news every single morning, and that's the only news that I watch. And I read that incredibly horrific, monstrous story about Ralph Yarl, who was picking up his twin siblings and gets shot twice, gets to 3 houses before he gets help. I'm wrecked by it all day. Next day, I wake up. The very next day I wake up, who is the next day? A boyfriend and a girlfriend pull into a man's driveway at around 10 p.m. to go pick up friends from a party. A guy comes out with a 12-gauge shotgun. The boyfriend sees this and immediately starts gassing it to get away. He shoots and kills the girlfriend. So then I'm still not going to talk about it because I'm like, nope, Randy, your lane is parenting. And then I get up today, Wednesday. I'm going to vomit as I'm talking about this. And today I read that 2 all-star cheerleaders are in a parking lot. They get in the wrong car at a parking lot, which I drive a white Tesla, which I'll never drive again, but that's another rant for another day. I'm always approaching the wrong car. These girls get in the wrong car and a guy shoots them. And one of them got grazed in the leg and the other one's in critical condition. And to top it the fuck off, 2 dads got in a road rage argument last fall and started shooting at each other and shot each other's daughters that were in the car. So I want to talk about not just guns, because we can talk about that till we're blue in the face, but what is going on in society and what kind of pent up rage that we have? Who's answering doors with a freaking gun? What's going on? That's what I want to know.
Wow. Okay. I love it. And I love the passion. I mean, can we agree that, I'm feeling everything you're feeling? And I think we're all feeling that. And we kind of alluded to it last week as well, is that my fear is that we do have so much pent up hostility that has been going on for a while and now we have access to a lot more weapons than we used to have. Honestly, I don't know what's going on. A mental health crisis is the only thing I can attribute it to.
Well, I think too that over the last few years, everyone was being gaslit constantly, and things became very divisive. And I think everything was voiced as misinformation or not true, or this is the way it is, or this is the way it is. And everyone started fighting, and it felt like the media was pushing and pushing and pushing and separating and separating and separating, because they're the ones that had our eyes and ears, and social media and and the algorithms, and everything started to get more and more divided. You could feel it. It's palpable. It's in the air. It's in everyone's consciousness. It's palpable, and you can feel it. And I think that there is just this, almost as the fight gets more about as the gun control conversation continues, and people take this hard stance, right? And divide and divide. It's almost like people are becoming numb to feelings and empathy and compassion for one another. Like the conversations have gone out the door. And so I don't know if that's playing into it, but people are acting crazy right now. Like Randy, like what you said, like who just shoots someone for driving in their driveway?
Who opens the door with a gun in their hand?
I don't know. And it's so crazy. I didn't grow up in a family we didn't have guns. I've never shot a gun. I don't like guns. I like nothing about them. I'm probably not the person to have a conversation with about it, because I don't understand. I'm like, what is the purpose? I get people have shotguns, they go out and they hunt and things like that. I don't understand why. It's a complete free for all, and it scares me. It scares me. And I understand there's different things about, we got to have our rights, but then at what point are we I don't understand. Like, right. Who comes to the door with like a gun? I don't understand that poor little boy. What's his name? Ralph?
Yeah.
16-year-old. I mean, what? It's just done every day, every single day. We're hearing stories.
And it's like, what has shifted? Like, what has shifted that it's now become a free for all? And I think it's a deeper question, guys. I think it's a way deeper question. It's like, why are people so angry? Why do people feel they can do this? Why are these people not being held accountable? There's all of the different conversations to be had. The mental health crisis in our country right now is terrifying as well.
It is. And it's so, what makes me sad is that everything is so divided that we never get anything done, because there's so many different, political agendas. If we could just come together, because at the end of the day, everybody's parents and everybody wants to keep their kids safe, and we don't want to see this, but yet when there's money and everything tied to it, and we never get any solutions. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on.
No, our politics, everyone's captured. We're all there. It's captured on both sides. It's all corporately run, and they're captured. And so everybody has special interests, and people are like missing the point. Here we are as the American people, not in great shape right now, not to be depressing, but, and people have gone through a lot in the last few years, and it feels like it's just continually like nothing's getting done, and it's escalating. If you see all the stuff going on both sides. Everywhere.
Yeah. I had breakfast, ironically, with the San Diego district attorney, and she's got a pretty big footprint. But I asked her, what is consuming her time as DA? And one of the things that was really troubling to me that has become hugely significant is teenage young adult psychosis. Unpack that. So it's not even the anxiety and the depression and whatnot. It's just and then couple that with, we have a huge drug problem with teens and fentanyl. That's pretty scary, that we're not addressing. And how would I even know that that's a problem? I don't, until she tells me. Randy?
I'm quiet because the fentanyl crisis is so scary and so frightening and so prevalent. When you hear kids or talk to kids on any college campus, these kids do so much drugs. It just blows me away. It's almost incomprehensible knowing what we know as a society, what parents know. I can guarantee any single person I know has like hammered into their kid's head. I was like, drink all you want, drink it, drink the Bud Light, do what you can, but don't touch drugs, you know? And you talk to a kid on a campus and the kids are doing cocaine right and left, or like they all want Adderall and they're getting it from somebody that they don't even know. And these, so to me, that's like a knife in my eye every day. You're playing Russian roulette with your life. And, you know, I can only hope that on campuses, they start making Narcan available on every single dorm and making it really easily available and easy to understand how to use it, because the deaths from fentanyl on the daily from people, I've known people who have died from it. It doesn't matter how much money you have, how educated you are, it will come and get you.
Yeah, I think that's another conversation for another quad.
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about it, because I do think a lot of parents are clueless. Oh,
Yeah.
my kid wouldn't do that. Oh, your kid is doing it.
Oh, they are doing
They're
it.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think it's again, it's a layered conversation, right? I mean, the psychosis is what, if you go back to that, I think there is such a disconnect of our youth right now. People are so disconnected. They live in a virtual reality. And even when they have their friends over, I have a couple teenagers and I have a lot of, like, 3 girls in their 20s, and exponentially every year it's gotten worse. We're looking at the younger kids and how addicted they are to their phones and to the culture, and going through the pandemic and not seeing their friends and hearing the news and seeing their parents talk. There's so much going on for their little brains. And Randy, I know you understand this working with kids. It's their brains are not developed enough to be able to handle the amount of information coming into their brains daily, along with the drugs, along with medicating everybody, you know, the over medication and the recreational drugs. It's a clusterfuck. I mean, right now it really is. And you know, so I think that's, again, another conversation for you guys. Should definitely tackle that, because I think it's layered, and I find that they're dying for connection, the kids.
Yeah. Randy, what else on this? You have any kind of, I mean, what, I think we all feel what you're feeling, and it's such a,
well, okay,
I don't even know how to weigh in on it, honestly, because we're feeling exactly what you're feeling, and all you can do, especially women our age, is say, God, what is going on, and how do you help?
Well, one more thing that's really crazy. So my mom lives in Colorado and is a substitute teacher for littles, middle school, and high school. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but this really shocked me because my kids now are 20 and 22. In the 2nd grade classroom, not only does she come to substitute and is given the whole plan for what happens if there's a school shooting, but every kid has an anxiety ball, Lori, every single 2nd grader.
Exactly.
And a little boy the other day lost his anxiety ball and had a freaking straight up panic attack and was crying so hard because he couldn't find his anxiety ball that he wouldn't let go of this teddy bear and leave to go to physical education. My mom said, Randy, I've never seen so much anxiety in such young kids in my life. And I just scratched my head, and I don't understand why, as a society, are we not adding some type of education? I get it. We need geometry, maybe, but we need coping skills. We need to understand emotional intelligence. We need to understand how to overcome adversity. Now you take these kids and they go through what Diane just explained. And Diane, my brain can't even accept what's going on in the news. Of course, a teenage brain can't. So yeah, I have a lot of, I'm so passionate about this because I can't get over how little we do. And the people that I do know that need mental health right now, you would not believe the hoops that they have to jump through to get that.
Yeah.
That's another whole conversation.
It is, and it is
God,
unbelievable.
you guys, I mean my anxiety ball.
Well, I think, you know, this is our future, guys.
Yeah.
These kids are our
I know.
future. I mean, we're aging out of, like, well, I am, but I mean, but my point is that this is our future, and we're not leaving. Like, I think people have to pull their heads out of their butts and go, hey, like, this isn't about us right now. This is about our future. And all of us are moms and have, you know, and we'll have grandchildren and all of that. And, like, at what point do we step in? And I think the moms are the ones that are actually going to shift society. I have no doubt. And it has to be it has to be them stepping in and saying we're in a crisis. So not to be depressing, but I do believe that. I do believe it.
Okay.
So
good stuff, guys. Okay. Diane, did we kind of cover what you wanted to lob up, or is there something else we should be talking about?
Well, there's a lot of things we should be talking about. I mean, I'll bring something on the table that's pretty controversial that I think that should be talked about is the vaccines over the last 3 years, and and how things in the last, like, I was on the side, I was canceled in the last 3 years, so I know that experience. It was very, very painful. For wanting to wait and see and take my time with the vaccines. And, you know, I was wanting to read what was in it. I was wanting to know what, you know, the whole thing. And once we found out it didn't stop transference and there was adverse events, I wanted to know more about it. And you would have thought I was a leper for a good year and a half. And a lot of my family was separated, you know, and I learned through that experience, like, we really listened to one another. We understood where we were with it, and we respected each other's choices. And so as a society, we weren't allowed to do that, nor were we allowed to talk about it, even as the science has changed, as science does, and things have come forth. And with the Senate hearings, all the documents that have been, all the censorship that went on and everything that happened, it's still not okay to talk about it, to say if there's somebody that, you know, whatever's going on. There's so many different opinions about it. And I just think it's something we should all be able to talk about because it impacted everybody's life. And so I think that's a subject that needs to be discussed. Wherever you are on the map, I'm so open. I'm like, whatever you do, it's all good. But I really do understand being on the other side of that. And I think as a culture, we have to be very careful about just having a mouthpiece and telling us how to think and not thinking for ourselves, and losing the ability to ask questions and be curious.
Well,
and say,
especially as
Amen.
Especially as it relates to our bodies. And I think, you know, like, I think things happen very, very quickly as it related to the outbreak of COVID. And I think everyone was scrambling. And I think, you know, if I look back, I do have a lot of friends that were, and especially females, because there was a lot of discussions on reproductive, you know, impacts and things of that nature, and that wanted to put the brakes on, that wanted to take a beat before. But then you had a lot of people that felt like that shot was their gateway to normalcy, to being able to do the things they love to do. And the reason why I think there's so much censorship about what really is and what was, is because what are they going to do now? Say, well, whoops, we made a mistake and all of that for not, or actually there's some side effects we didn't clearly warn you about, like those commercials for Viagra where you get the whole laundry list and you look at your husband and say, I don't care. It's not worth it.
Well, and just to, and I want to hear all your guys' opinion, and just to be clear, there was the Pfizer documents, when I knew that they wanted to seal them for 75 years and not show everyone the safety studies and what was going on. I said, hell no, I'm not doing it. And I saw, so that was, you know, and people were still getting COVID, and I know about natural immunity. And so there was things that I was like, it wasn't adding up to me, and I needed a minute. And then as time went on, I made a decision for myself. And so I think that it got very ugly during that time. People are forgetting now, but it got very ugly, and people were not kind. And
that's what makes me so angry about that, because you have every right to question and do your own research and make a decision that's best for you and your family. And instead, you get ostracized. I mean, what in the God's name was going on?
It's not even that. You don't even get ostracized. You get made to feel like a social pariah that has no consciousness,
that doesn't care about other people.
Like, well, you're going to affect other people. Yeah.
And that was the dialogue. I mean, you could turn
that was the dialogue.
Any show, anything on the news. I mean, and people were just attacking.
Oh yeah, it
And
was
I-
attack. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had some close friends too that were like, no, I'm, they had questioned. They were like, no, I'm not going to. And in my opinion, I was like, and that's perfectly okay.
Being in
But-
California was hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Randy,
it's,
what do you have anything to say on this before we kind of go to the last
No,
topic?
I would say that I have a new sort of a woman that I really look up to, and her name, I believe, she's my hero, right? But I don't know her name. It's Jennifer Say, I think. She was the female executive at Levi who did a couple of tweets just questioning why the school closures.
Yeah.
And before you knew it, they approached her and they were like, "That's not the narrative. You need to go. And if you sign this, non-disclosure, this agreement, we'll pay you X amount of money." I think it was like in excess of $1 million. And she said, "No, I don't want your money." And she left. And all that woman did was exactly what you're saying, Diana, Michelle. She questioned the science, and she didn't even question getting the vaccine. She questioned, why are you closing the public schools? And I remember that time well, and it was very contentious, and you'd get together with women and there was always little side conversations. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You're like,
always.
it felt like Hollywood blacklisting years ago. And
right.
I think it's very scary when you can't have a dialogue about something, and it's about something that you're putting into your body. I thought it was a very scary time.
Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say, I think, and I always bring up media because I could just see behind the scenes, like, these are your talking points and this is what you have to say. And everybody's, going on with the same messaging across the board. And
yeah, it was hard. And I also think, and I'll just finish, it's like the word misinformation and conspiracy theorist are two of the most dismissive, offensive, like to call someone that to me felt like, don't just label, like ask me questions of why I think that, or let's look farther, or let's look deeper, but just to label people. And that's what our culture is doing right now. We're labeling everybody. And we're missing the point, what I shared with Lori yesterday, if I could, Lori, when I said to you, from my context, is the spirit. The work I do is in a spiritual context, and we all are one. We all are energy bodies, and we're borrowing these beautiful human bodies. Like we're here for a bit, and then we're gone as souls, and we are brothers and sisters, and we have been almost captured into this belief that we're separate. And there is a separateness that's happening more and more and more by the labeling, by the different identities, by all of it. And we're forgetting that at our core, we're souls. I'm you, you're me, and from a spiritual context, I just think it's really important to go back to that when we want to get into being right and being different or being whatever, like to see one another and to really see each other, because that allows more opening, is from my perspective. So
She is me.
She is me. Woozoo, woozoo. I love that stuff.
Yes, I love that. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to close with this, and I'll try to be brief because this also has, it's the deformed octopus with 1,200 legs. We are not talking about the economy, and I think that is that's a crime. And the reason why I say that is there's a lot of stuff happening, and I have a lot of concerns that we're not asking the right questions about things. And not to keep belaboring the past 3 years, but part of me thinks that people have put their head in the sand and they're not properly preparing. They're not looking at the higher level to the lower level. I mean, well, look, we all don't want to pay $15 for a burrito. We all get that loud and clear, but there's other things happening. And I feel like we become a society that either we're going to shuck off responsibility, we're going to keep swiping the credit card, worry about it later, and then someone else is going to take care of it for me. Either I'm going to file a chapter bankruptcy, or I'm relying on some form of, I don't want to say handouts, but I feel like and this thing is going to be crushing to a lot of people, and we're sitting here watching it happen and no one's fucking talking about it. I don't know. Thoughts?
Agreed. I agree with you. But I mean, it's kind of like everything else that we do, right? We're like here in the moment right now. We are a society of me and not of we. So if we were to think about the whole and the community and what this is doing, but we don't, we just go along with it. We seem to go along with everything, which is why I love these weekly conversations, because we have to just talk about things so that we know where we are and we can get some perspective on it. Otherwise, you do. I mean, the price of everything from travel to living. I mean, you think about these young kids again. I just always love to go back to them. If I'm a young kid, I'm like, how in the heck am I ever going to get ahead? Am I going to be able to afford, do you know what I mean? Like to get married and buy a home and do everything else. We're not, but as a society, we don't look at it like that. We look at everything as me. How does it affect me? And, you know, and we move on.
Yeah, I agree. And I was going to say, don't you think that it's, you know, we laugh about the whole, you know, we're on to the next thing. Like we talk about that and then we're like, oh, well, over here, you know, squirrel, this is the next problem. And so there's so many that I think people just get, just like the kids, we're all overwhelmed. And then it does be like, well, you know what, let me just stay in my lane. Let me put my head down. Let me focus on what I'm doing. And then nothing gets fixed. Nothing gets done.
Well, it's more than that. And I think I don't think I touched on it well enough. I think that we have created an environment and a culture right now that is very complacent and irresponsible. And when you helicopter money in, what typically happens, and we needed to do that, I get we needed to do some of that. What typically happens is the people that really need the assistance don't get enough, and the people that don't need the assistance get a kind of a free ride and a loophole, right? And couple that with, you know, we have become so reliant on that swipe that I don't think people realize. Look, I'll give you a little scenario. So I met this young gal. She couldn't have been more than 32. She has multiple degrees, advanced degrees, and she has now 3 or 4 properties in which she owns and rents out, et cetera. And I looked at her, I go like, dude, you're a baller. Like, how did you make that happen? You put yourself through school with 2 masters, blah, blah, blah. Come to find out, and she proudly told me, she goes, well, yeah, you know, I kind of swiped the credit card. I put my tuition on it, and then I filed Chapter 7. And I was like, oh, like it was nothing. And I just kind of look at this and I'm like, have we created the environment that I'm going to do what feels right for me, and someone else is going to have to worry about it. Someone else is going to have to bail me out, or someone's going to take care of it. And I don't know what the question is for that, or the answer.
I don't know. Yes, I do think that's happening all over the place.
Yeah. Have we created that like sense of like, you know, this is not going to be my problem. Someone else will fix it. You know, and then the other thing I worry about, honestly, and maybe we'll leave it at this and you guys weigh in on if you have any last minutes, but the conversations I've had with people about retirement. Okay. This is a real problem. When we're out spending and not watching what we're doing, and we're not saving, and we're not being cognizant of the economic dynamics that are happening right now. Yeah. I'm here to tell you, people, if you think Social Security is an entitlement, it is so not. Yeah. Smoke and mirrors, what they'll do is they will keep pushing your date out so that you have to retire now at 75 in order to get your payments. It is not an entitlement, nor is Medicare, because it actually costs you money. So
that's happening in France right now.
Yep.
Macron just changed their Social Security from 62 to 64 with no vote. He didn't go to the House or whatever I don't know how it's set up for them, but he just signed it and changed it. And there are millions of people in the streets in France right now. We're not hearing a peep about it in our news. There are millions of people in Brazil. There are millions of people they're all out everywhere. And we're not hearing about it because there's a lot going on. And that's another thing. But as far as financially, I think that we have borrowed. I mean, everyone knows this. We've borrowed so much money and we're so in debt and we're sending so much money overseas. And that's what we're doing. And there's just so much money being printed and going out. And a lot of people, there's 59% of Americans don't have an extra $1,000 if the economy crashes. 59%. And that is terrifying. Our middle class is being completely squelched. So I think right now, seeing what's going on with the financial world, it's banks are closing. They think there'll be 6 majors that might capture all the. I don't know the answer.
Look at the layoffs happening.
Yeah, look at the layoffs. Look at the younger. So, I mean, I feel like this is just something like just to pay attention. I always think that there's an opportunity in this. Just be a step ahead. Like take care of your finances. You know, maybe budget a little. You know, like
Budget.
whatever. If you have the extra, some people don't have the extra cash, but just to be aware of it. You know, look for job security.
And again, it goes back to
hustle.
research, and you know, not everything can be a bailout, and you can get ahead of it. And I just feel like we have just like we're so preoccupied with other things, that this one really worries me as a looming thing that could be like the Chinese spy balloon. All right, ladies,
that's a whole other thing.
Right. What the fuck happened to that balloon? Okay, that's a whole other thing. Okay, so we did really great, ladies. Thank you so much for your honesty and passion. I definitely felt we brung it today. Did I say that right? We brung it? We brought it? We brought it.
You brought it.
Yeah. So thank you. And Diane, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, you guys. I really appreciate it. That was great.
Go back and listen to her. She has a really good episode, season 2, episode 25. And do you want to give a shout out to any of your handles or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Don't DM me anything after this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't want to hear from you.
Canceling.
Okay, all you tenors, until next week. And if you have thoughts on what you would like to hear us chop up, or you want to weigh in, you know how to find us. So go to our Instagram at She's a 10 times 5. Okay. Later, ladies. Follow us on Instagram at She's a 10 times 5. You can click on the link in our bio to listen to all of our previous episodes, as well as check out our live video interviews over our YouTube channel. You can also find us on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, pretty much wherever else you decide to listen to your favorite podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe.